Welcome! Your War Chief is back with another epic video! Hi, my name's PBG, but you lovely people are more than welcome to call me Peebs. Continuing from our last video, where we looked at what was perceived as the worst expansion, turning into the best, today we are looking at what was going to be the best expansion, and why it became the worst. If you want to see last week's video, I'm going to leave that right up here. That way you can catch up on it, see what I'm talking about. So yeah, what happened? How did what was supposed to be the best expansion become the worst? Stick around. We're jumping into it right now. Let's start with some history. Wrath of the Lich King was Blizzard's pinnacle when it comes to expansions financially. It had the largest subscriber base. It was a financial dream. And it was an awesome expansion. No one is arguing against Wrath. Wrath has got god tier status. We don't talk about Wrath. What was next? So they released this badass cinematic about a world-breaking dragon. My jaw was dropped at the time, and most were. They announced this expansion to be the biggest yet. We were ready for it. They were going to redesign levels 1 through 60 so we can have a better playing experience. They were going to break the world as we knew it. Azeroth was destroyed by the World Breaker. They were going to give us worgons and goblins. This expansion, walking out the gate, was everything a WoW player asked for. The sales for this was nuts. It was everything we wanted. Or so we thought. The launch. Unlike Mists of Pandaria, the launch was heavily anticipated, and they couldn't get the game to work for a solid week. Tech issues happened, DDoS attacks happened. It didn't phase the player base for long. It sucked, but it wasn't too bad. We were then met with very distinct zones that could only be traveled through by a portal in the main city. Guess where your Heartstones were. And your first leveling zone was everyone's favorite, Vashj'ir. I would love to have been in that conference room when the developer walked through the door and said, you know what, Vashj'ir, let's make it an underwater zone. And then the rest of the table was like, yeah, sure, sounds good. No! 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 An underwater level in any definition, in any game, sucks. So our first introduction to Cataclysm is a shitty zone that we hate with a living passion, is still considered the worst leveling zone, period. Gets better. They launched dungeons. Every expansion has dungeons. These dungeons were scaled up to raid level of difficulty. Now, try doing a heroic with a group of 4 other random players hoping to do raid style mechanics. It went well. Yeah, have you ever experienced something where a bunch of random players did very well? LFR, I am looking at you. It was a shit show. It was miserable. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There was a redeeming quality, and it was the initial raids. Bastion of Twilight and Blackwing Descent were awesome raids. Blackwing Descent, to me, was a better raid, but they were good. They were really good. And Blackwing Descent still has the most difficult boss in the entire game. The elevator boss. I don't care who you are, you died to it. Some of us died less often, but we all did. Don't play me. So did it get better though? What's the storytelling like? No, it did not. The main storyline was confusing, convoluted. There was no clear indication on how the story was going. There was no next level questing zones. They ended up making another raid, which was super great. Firelands was good. But it made no sense to the main storyline, where the dragons brought their aspects together to kill a big dragon. None of this was explained. You walked into Dragon Soul not knowing what the hell was going on. I was a relatively new player. This was my first expansion experience. I was starting to get into the lore, and I had no damn clue what was going on in Dragon Soul. Let alone the fact that this raid was on farm week number 2. And in Cataclysm, you had no idea why this badass dragon, which could have been a badass dragon fight, turned into a tentacle fight. We only learned that later. Some people, BFA. Mind you, it had to be spelled out in BFA, but I'm not going to argue that. So yeah, that's how poor the storytelling was. We had no idea. Now, add all those factors up, and then make the raid last forever. Yeah. This was the longest time between raid launch and new expansion ever. The raid was easy in comparison, so players were left with nothing for so long. No wonder players were pissed walking into Mists. No wonder. The only bright side that actually came out of Dragon Soul, in my opinion, was learning that Thrall was going to be a daddy. That was cute. So what in the hell happened? They bit off more than they could chew. Rebuilding the levels 1 through 60 leveling experience, which credit where credit is due. It was awesome. They really did well. That was everything we needed. Good job. But it was an expansion's worth of work. They didn't have time to put into Cataclysm like they should have. Cataclysm also brought other challenges for developers, such as flying. Flying? Yes, flying. Azeroth itself wasn't built for flying. Period. It was built for ground mounts. So having these zones in Azeroth and in like Stormwind and in Eastern Kingdoms, in Kalimdor, they had to open flying up in these areas. So they had to build those skyboxes. They had to make it accessible to the player. And then breaking the world. They had to do it to where one day you logged in, everything was normal. The next day, Deathwing. I don't even want to imagine the amount of work and the amount of detail they had to do to make that happen. There are lots of interviews you guys can check out, and it goes through those details and you're like, what an undertaking. So all of this basically boils down to they were really, really ambitious, but they bit off more than they could chew. They had too much to do for too little time, and it showed. And it didn't get better with time. It was a constant battle of fixing what was broken. And the big reason why the long wait between Dragon Soul and Mists, there was content planned. They scrapped it to work on Mists. They didn't want the same problem twice. Which, yes, hurt Mists. But my God, was it worth it. Bringing this full circle, it really does make me hopeful for Shadowlands. This is kind of what they're doing for this expansion. They are putting their 100% focus on it. And if history repeats itself, we're going to get a Mists. We're going to get a Legion. I hope. I really hope. I am the type of person that wishes for the best. I don't wish for people to fail. So I can only hope that Shadowlands will be awesome. But yeah, Cataclysm. Alright, what did you think of Cataclysm? Where do you think they went wrong? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, give me a big old thumbs up. If you didn't, well, I'm just kidding. Be honest with me, that's all I ask for. And if you like Warcraft, you like nerdy stuff, you like what I do, you like me, hit that subscribe button. And while you're down there, ring that bell. That way you'll get notifications for all my upcoming videos. I'm also going to leave links to my social media, my Twitch, everything in the description so you don't miss a beat. And if you made it this far, I'm going to leave my last zone review up here. It's about Vol'dun, and all you need to know is alpacas, and vulpixes. Yup. Alright, well I love you all very much, and I can't wait to see you again on the next one. Bye! Dragon Soul. An epic name for a raid. Can you imagine if the Deathwing fight was like 3 phases of fighting a badass dragon? And then a tentacle phase? It would have made more sense. Blizzard, hire me.